building. And then you have these layers of clay going up this way as you go towards the top. I might be doing that wrong, but these are going up this way. And then you have these nice little layers of burned soil just full of charcoal, which is what we like. That is to say, we tried to get one nearby and hit it again, but this is a burned surface within the mound. This is a burned surface within the mound, which we can date. So, when did they live there? One of the most basic questions that we can ask. Well, the radiocarbon dates from the Mound A core, and it works out very nicely, too, because we dated 2 of them, and that is the lower ones from about, the calibrated median is about AD 1180. Again, in radiocarbon dating, that's give or take. You have a time span, but it's always better to have more than one radiocarbon date. A radiocarbon date of 1180, and then another one above that of 1260, AD 1260. Hey, you know, we're right there. This is a Mississippian mound site. This is a Mississippian mound site with Coles Creek and Plaquemine ceramics, Mississippi period, I should say. Some of the other dates from TU, it doesn't do any good, TU1, which is in Mound D, go along with that quite nicely. This is the large excavation unit that we put in that big platform mound, and that's near the bottom, I believe. Yeah, level 19 and level 20. That is material from near the bottom of the mound, AD 1230 and AD 1270. Now, the dates from the surfaces, those surfaces that I told you about, the midden, are a little bit earlier, from TU4 and TU7, but still, we're talking about a time span or a period of which there's activity and people are living here along the bayou and they're building these mounds. And I would say that time span is right around 1000 AD to probably 1300 AD. But you have time period, and probably the time period in which the mounds were built was much briefer within there, a segment of time within that larger time span. I would say that this is generations of people that are living there, and we don't know as much about the site. The reason I'm pausing is I don't want to get myself in trouble by speculating too much, but based on what we know, yeah, one group of people from about AD 1000 to 1300 lived there and built the mounds. But again, we dug, overall, we dug maybe 4 square meters, which is a very small excavation for an immense site. So there could be things at this site that we don't know about. There could even be other mounds. I mean, they were sedentary. I mean, they were living there, and we don't know much about what they were eating. They were certainly hunting and fishing and doing a lot of fishing, but we didn't look too much at subsistence. The big question is, were they agriculturalists? Were they growing maize? And I can't say whether or not they were. It was certainly known, and across the Mississippi River, people certainly were planting maize. So there's all sorts of questions we could begin to ask now. How are we going to answer them? I like to think that the pottery changes because of the people. That is to say, and likely, in many instances, the women who teach, who hand down pottery traditions. Just a couple of slides from the mound site Portage Guidry, which we visited early on, I believe 2001, and then went back to in 2003, excavated that, mapped. Incredibly to me, I mean, it's a very large mound site near Henderson. Incredibly to me, there was no good map of this site. No one had mapped it. It was known about, archaeologists knew about it, it had been recorded, but no one had really even, spent that much time at it. John Gibson had brought some students there and done a little bit of work. We've only really begun to understand what is Portage Guidry, this mound site near Henderson. Through our work there, we were able to stabilize one of the mounds, which was being destroyed by an ATV. We were also able to get the Archaeological Conservancy interested in it, a national group that purchases mound sites in order to protect them. It was recognized that this mound site would slowly be destroyed. Portage Guidry, like I'd said, the Archaeological Conservancy, a national group, got interested in it, and wonderfully, the landowners, Jeannie Kramer, who had been at UL, was at UL, and her family, worked out a sale to the Archaeological Conservancy of the mound site for its preservation. When we excavated there were some radiocarbon dates that suggested it was later. We actually got, in our excavations near the mound, a lot of thick midden, just rich with animal bone, a lot of fish, a lot of deer, charcoal, and remains of fires. And this isn't from an earlier excavation, from our first excavation, but we went back and relocated this feature, or this hearth, which you can see right in here, which is above the midden. That is to say, above the level which represents the debris from the village when they built the mound. I'll say that again. This dark soil represents the debris of occupation from when they built the mounds at Portage Guidry, right here. I'm pretty confident of it, based on the radiocarbon dates and based on what we know about the mound. Well, there was a small hearth or a small campfire built on top of that. So it should date later. It's on top of it. Well, we radiocarbon dated it, and it dates to about 1350 AD. That is to say, the one higher up, about 1350 AD. So it is actually a Mississippi period site. So archaeology includes 12,000 years ago, 10,000 BC, to the more recent historic period.